Yep. What's up, guys? People. All right, let's give it like 5 or 10 minutes to get the ball on the road, but I do have to address the market. I do have to talk about what's going on. So we'll give it a couple of minutes, wait for some people to join. But yeah, this is just cryptocurrency news. I want to talk about what's going down. Eddie, I think it says currently unlisted. You have to put it list public. But yeah, we'll go over everything in the market. Eddie's getting the live stream set up. Let's see if we can get people in here. If you're on a different social media like Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, head on over to my YouTube channel. All you have to do is type in Alexander Lorenzo. I'm the guy with the mustache and the thumbnail screaming and doing weird things. You can follow me there on YouTube. On YouTube, we're gonna go over, in my personal opinion, some very deep analysis of the history of cryptocurrency so we can see what catalyzes the market and you know where I think we're potentially going to go in the future. So this is not going to be short-term noise, and I wanted people to, so I chose the title, you know, super bullish news or whatever. Are we up, Eddie?
Yep, we are.
Yeah, there we go. So I chose the title. It says unlisted. All right, give me 2 seconds, guys.
I don't know if I refresh this, but I just put it public.
Yeah, it looks like we're all right. All right, looks like we're good to go. There you are. There's everybody. I see him now. All right, guys, little YouTube technical difficulties, but yeah, I want to talk about some cryptocurrency news today. I want to talk about what's going on. You know, when I say bullish and positive, I do mean that. I really do mean that. So, you know, I'm going to go over cryptocurrency's history. I'm going to hit you guys with some ridiculous knowledge today. This is a deeper type video. You know, every so often, I like to go extremely deep. This is one of those videos. I won't just be talking about what everybody's talking about, you know, with news out there. I'm not going to give energy to it. And, you know, again, today, you know, I'm saying it's bullish for a reason because just to take 2 seconds, man, let's have some gratitude for, you know, you and yourself and where you currently are. Like, I feel like everybody's focused on their, you know, their bank accounts, money, everyone lost money, blah, blah, blah. But at least you're not in Russia or Ukraine, right? Or at least you're not, these people have no control over their realities. You know, getting bombed or participating in this huge 50% market crash in Russia. So I don't want to give energy to that. I'm not going to give energy to that. I want to give people some hope. I want to talk about where crypto can go in the future and how crypto can solve a lot of these problems and how we can move into Web 3.0 or the next infrastructure of the internet that can solve a lot of the problems that we are currently facing right now. And, you know, I did find extremely bullish news, like probably the most bullish news I have ever seen in basically all of cryptocurrency. We're coming up to an ultimatum date. So I'm going to go over that in this video. But if we can get some more people in here, let's spread the good word of cryptocurrency. Let's tell somebody about this beautiful technology that liberates mankind, that allows people to have true peace and prosperity through financial wealth, right? Through actually being able to control your own future with money. Let's give positive energy to the fact that no government can shut down Bitcoin, and when things go belly up, no dictator can stop this powerful, powerful commodity that is cryptocurrency. Let's give positive energy to that. This is bullish. This situation that's going on right now is the greatest advertising campaign for cryptocurrency ever. This is the greatest advertising campaign. Let's have a little bit of gratitude for your current situation, where you currently are right now, because again, you could be in Russia or Ukraine, and there actually are some people that work in my organization that are in Ukraine. Okay, so I want to, for those people, it's you know, it's really horrible, right? It's really horrible, and I'm really sorry that, you know, you have to go through that with this one dude that just controls everything. Is bloodthirsty, clearly. I'm sorry that you have to go over that, you know, and go through this. But for the rest of the world, again, let's have some gratitude. Stop looking at your bank account, right? Stop looking at your bank account. Understand that there's bigger elements out there that are at B. That is life. That is currently being threatened by a select few people that are power hungry. So let's give positive energy to this beautiful technology, blockchain. And I'm saying it a couple of times because I want you guys to know why I'm doing this video, why I titled it The Most Bullish News, because this is bullish, right? This is ultimately going to educate more people. When more people get educated about cryptocurrency, they're ultimately going to have to adopt it because of situations like this. People don't mass adopt items because they like it better, right? Cryptocurrency is not that much better from Web 2.0. The reason why they adopt it is, in most cases, because they are forced to or have to adopt it because their countries, in some cases, are hyperinflating or controlling their dollar, right? Their countries, in some places, are forcing war, right? So, they want to preserve their wealth, and some countries, they have no option. So Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, blockchain technology is that positivity that I want to spread forever, and I will never stop. But yeah, I want to go over briefly. I mean, we see Russia and Ukraine obviously going at it, and I don't really want to comment on that. I'm not a geopolitical expert. I don't know anything about that, and I'm not going to try to know that. But what I do know is that there's ultimatums, right? I do know the financial war, and it's been cooking up for a long time. So I want to, again, go over cryptocurrency specific news and try to educate you guys on the history of crypto. But again, I mean, Eddie, if you pull up the main screen, they're basically all just like, this is everything. This is the front page of Google News, Ukraine under attack. We see, these videos with missiles being launched. We see, full-scale war, these very strong, scary titles that, are obviously getting people to look at it. And I do want to show that the ruble is crashing. The Russian ruble plunges to record low, and the stock market dropped by about 50-60% overnight. So, again, this is just super unfortunate, and cryptocurrency is supposed to change this, right? Now, I want to talk about long-term. Again, I see the comments right now. Excuse me, let me just turn off Discord, but I see the comments right now. People are basically, panicking, and they're probably wondering, hey, why are you making this title, Alex? It's not bullish. Because I'm bullish long-term. I'm bullish in the future. I'm bullish in 5-10 years. It doesn't really matter. I'm in this industry forever. So again, I'm going to go over a really, really important historical timeline of cryptocurrency, specifically Bitcoin, and why it moves on an internal conflict level in the cryptocurrency space. I'm going to show how it's been manipulated, and we're going to try to ignore what's going on right now so that we can just take a little break from this whole thing, because I do think that taking a break from this whole new system might be really smart. So I'm going to give you guys definitely some context on there. Somebody's saying Bitcoin broke 39. Wasn't it at 35? Let me see. If we pull up the BTC USD chart, let me see real quick. Is Bitcoin pumping right now?
Am I screen sharing that?
Yeah, you can screen share it. Let's see. Is Bitcoin pumping? Because it was just dumping, man. Ooh, it's making a little run. Look, guys, again, you literally see it right now. You literally see right now. This is the physical representation of distraction. Literally, someone just put Bitcoin broke 39, put an exclamation point, and it got my attention. And again, I want to take my attention a little bit away from the short term because it's pretty much irrelevant. And let's think about the long term. So Bitcoin came over here to 33K. Yeah, I'm gonna think about the long term, guys. This is all a distraction. This is irrelevant. So let me answer questions for 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna go into some historical Bitcoin and cryptocurrency charts or whatever the case is. Whatever you said, dude, just blasted the market like crazy. Straight up, I just came here. I sold at the bottom, waited to check the price movement. Is this coming back down to buy back in? Hey, these questions are short term. I need everybody to take their mind off of this. It's not the way you make money. Stop loss hunt, yes. AKA next halving, yes. Yeah, so stop hunt is on. Yeah, I mean, it looks like everybody's thinking about the same thing. And this is why, if you could take a step back, take a deep breath, contemplate your life in the right way, you can make money if you get yourself out of this way of quick thinking, quick fix thinking, right? So I do want to take 2 seconds. If you guys are on a different social media platform, like Twitter, Instagram, or TikTok, or any other Facebook, whatever they decided to turn on today. Tune in on YouTube. Just type in Alexander Lorenzo on the YouTube search algorithm. No matter what, just type it in anywhere, and I should pop up. And then you can go to my actual channel and click the live video. I have a Bitcoin War Paint. That's the thumbnail. It's a Bitcoin War Paint, and it says live. So go ahead and click that. Head on over, and we can get this party started. It's not a party. I shouldn't have said that. It's definitely not a party. But this historical, cryptocurrency class, I want to go over the history of crypto. If you could do me a favor, guys, and like the video, let's get this to at least 200 likes. There's about 265 people in here, and then we can get the party started. The reason why I say that is because I want people to get the notifications. The more that people that like this video and share it, we get the notifications out, and we can spread the good word to as many people as possible. 80% of my net worth is in NFTs. Not gonna start shaming people, but that's probably not a good thing to do. I can't wait until the next bear market. Yep, it's coming soon. 2024 next halving, yeah, that's a pretty big bullish event, but we have other events as well that are pretty bullish in my personal opinion. Do you think regulations the near-term threat? I don't want to start snapping, guys, but like, come on. The near-term threat is a complete world war, all right? That's the near-term threat, all right? First like, all right, okay. Due diligence, these not. You gotta stop, all right? It's not supposed to be always happy. All right, so if we come over here, Eddie, I do want to talk about what Charlie Munger said, because although this guy is, kind of anti-crypto, the man is a genius, and I've studied him for a long time, and I've recently been diving into what he has to say, and he's talking about it being some type of disease, right? So I looked it up, and it's basically STDs, right? And how it spreads from human to human at a rapid rate. Now, I do think when he said this, remember, these guys are very calculated. They don't just say random stuff. Okay, let me just be clear. They don't just say random stuff. So, when they say something, they just genuinely mean it, and to a high degree of accuracy. So what I think he's saying here is crypto spreads very fast, but he also basically saying that it's foundationally or fundamentally flawed to a certain extent, and is a net negative for humanity, right? Now, I just want to challenge that very briefly, because there are a lot of scientific papers of Bitcoin spreading like virus. You can go look it up for yourself. All types of citations. It's a little bit small. Let me make it. I don't know what's going on here. I'll just refresh it, or whatever the case is. But yeah, all types of people have made a claim that it spreads like a disease or a virus. Something like COVID, right? That goes from person to person. But in general, like, what I want to just come out here and say is that I think it's probably a little, and again, I'm not trying to challenge Charlie Munger, but personally, being that this is on the internet, I think it's probably more closely related to something like a narrative. Okay, so I think cryptocurrency, Bitcoin specifically, spreads like a viral narrative. That is my personal opinion, and I think that closely represents that. Now, if you want to dive into this book, it's actually a completely free book by Yale. All you have to type in is narrative economics and look into it for yourself. It's only 58 pages. He does have a longer book, but this is giving you the same exact information. Launched in January 2017. But the gist is here, again, the virality of something, the story, right? Like, humans have gone through this cycle, this hero's journey. And this story is kind of implanted in our DNA. Some people even make that case that it's implanted into human psychology in general, right? It's kind of like a default thing where people remember stories, they act with stories, they act with narratives, right? So, Robert Schiller basically dropped in 2017 this whole entire book that really looked into the data, and he dissected how narratives basically move everything. There's huge narratives, right? For example, the narrative in World War II, where basically they had to go through hard times, right? And we had presidents putting out these really great speeches of, wartime heroes and things like this, right? That really push people and motivate people into the right direction. And I'm willing to come out here and make the case that, yeah, I think people invest more with what they know, and what they know is usually inclined in some type of story that they tell themselves in their head. So I want to just dive into some narratives that has fueled Bitcoin price since it started, since the beginning of history, as far back of the data we can find. So my basically, I guess you could say the input of data for my case study of studying Bitcoin's history is going to be Google search term. Now, the reason why I'm using Google is because it's definite. It's one thing that we know for certain is that Google controls the narrative. It's basically controlled about 90% of the world's search traffic. As you can see here, Eddie, on the screen, it's controlled about 90% of the world's search traffic. And people, pretty basically the majority of the information out there, people get it from the internet, right? So if the majority of people get their info from the internet, and Google owns 90% for a long period of time, they have a strategic stronghold on what people know or their narratives. And it actually took it to the next level. If you guys haven't read the book Life After Google, and they have this predictive futuristic model called Markov chain model, or Markov algorithms, that was created by a Soviet scientist. And they took this algorithm to basically be able to predict human nature. So, you can read it for yourself there, but the whole gist is that basically, they could predict the next thought or the next word that you're going to type into a search engine. So if you type in dog, then they have a very, very high likelihood to predict the next word you're going to type in. And this is where you see on the Google search term, the thing about, they recommend it for you, and usually you're not finishing it, you're just typing it in. It's like almost like predicting the future. Because if you could think of the next word of everybody's thought, right? Like if you can on mass level predict what somebody else is going to do next, when it comes to search, or what's their thought, then you could predict their actions. And Google has basically had the strategic stronghold for years, and everybody knows it, especially in big tech. Data, their predictive models are the best in the world, and they've been able to predict and manipulate mass psychology since it got its stronghold hundreds of years, or not hundreds of years ago, but like 20 or 30 years ago, right? So the point I'm trying to make here, I want you to think about that. I forgot the exact, I think it's called the atomic time clock. And maybe I'm speaking out of term because I'm not a developer, but I know this for a fact. There's something called atomic time clock, and it's held by a select few individuals. And this time clock is basically the true time of the world, because all of our computers basically calibrate to this atomic time clock, right? So if I own this atomic time clock, essentially I can be living in the future because I could offset the time slightly by a couple of minutes, right? So I could I could say that, it's 12:05, but really it's 12 o'clock, and I have a 5-minute advantage on pretty much the whole entire Earth because everybody's using this atomic time clock. That's basically what they have with the Google search engine. So essentially, they're not technically living in the future, but everybody is just a step behind. And again, it's bringing it home to what I'm trying to explain here, because again, they have controlled the internet. If we bring over this chart here, this is basically how it works. There's a crawler that looks at search traffic.
Frozen.
It's frozen?
Yeah. No, like you're alive right now.
Okay.
Screen share is frozen.
Screen share is frozen. He'll get the screen share up, but basically Google has a search algorithm that crawls the internet and looks at people's web page and then recommends what's going to be, the page that they put at the top or not. So again, if Google owns 90% of all search traffic, and they basically control 90% of all narratives, and they get to choose what goes at the top of the web page, they essentially control what people are viewing, right? So again, I just want to go into this concept because most people think that there's other things that run the world, but I would argue and say that right now the most effective median of power is to control the economic system. Bringing it back to what I was saying originally, guys, this is not a real it is a physical war. I'm not trying to hide from that, but it was first an economic war. It was first an economic war. And they were attacking for years, right? And the reason I say this is because the true power is controlling the economic system that the United States had for the past 94 years or so, right? So if you're looking right now, you can see that at one point Portugal, Spain, Netherlands, France, and Britain had the strategic stronghold. So there's two things that the America has. They have a power over the world reserve currency, and they have a power over the military. It looks like they've been losing the power over the world reserve currency because of inflation and because of the confidence of the United States. So if you really think about it, when people lose confidence in USD, they essentially start selling or getting rid of it and looking for alternative assets. Bringing it back to what I was saying again, narratives. Narratives run everything. What people think and where they want to put their money is what ultimately happens. The United States had to convince people of certain things before they can go to war. Same thing with Russia and Ukraine. They have to convince people of things before they can amass the people to, be dedicated to their cause, right? So again, it kind of started off with Google being the biggest search term, but really, it really starts off with what people think of where to put their money, right? And who has the control of their money. And it just happens to be that most of the search traffic is coming from the United States and Google, right? So again, the point I'm trying to make in layman's, very simple terms, narratives, in my personal opinion, to a high degree, to a respectable degree, I think even more than most people think, narratives run the financial and the world markets and basically all of psychology, human psychology. It dictates what mass amounts of people think. The people that have the strategic stronghold right now is Google, and a Google search term, right? So what they say is very, very important, which brings me to my last point here. This is my original work and nobody else's work. Like I told you guys 1,000 times, I give you things that I do, not just regurgitating what other people are saying on the internet. I'm an independent analyst. So there's two big variables I want to talk about here. And the first one is big ultimatum events for Bitcoin's price. So the tops, the bottoms, and the precursors to parabolic events. So just to be clear, again, the only thing I'm isolating, and I could see, and people have called me out in my group about it being slightly biased because I'm only looking at isolated events with the narrative. But if I isolated these specific tops, then we could say that there's it's a top, right? It's an important event, right? So even though I'm isolating, Google search history right around here, right? Even though I'm only looking at this point, it's not biased because that's the exact top. It's an important event. Our goal is to try to call the tops and the bottoms. So all I do is I look at tops and bottoms and I search within that month what was the most popular narrative. Okay, so I went throughout pretty much everything. I did the hard work for you guys. Do me a favor, like the video, subscribe, and share it with somebody if you appreciate this due diligence and this content that nobody else is for a fact providing on the internet. But basically, there's three different types of events: the tops, the bottoms, and the precursors to parabolic growth cycles. So I basically just sold you on the tops and the bottoms. Let me explain why I think the precursors to parabolic growth cycles is very important. So there's different types of growth patterns, right? Did I bring it up here? No, I didn't put it up here. But basically, a parabolic growth cycle grows exponentially. You don't really see this in a lot of assets. We only see this parabolic growth in very disruptive technologies like Apple or Google or Facebook, right? And you can't even see it too much in ETH. Like, for example, you see linear growth, right? So you see it's just kind of growing up, but it's not curving. And the curve speaks of exponential. This is that virus. So bringing it back over here to the virus growth, right? From scientific peer-reviewed papers, this is what a virus looks like. It grows exponentially. This is why a lot of people are scared of the coronavirus, because even though, it's not killing as many people as other things, it's growing exponentially, right? So this growth here is very important. So I isolated those three variables. We isolated the tops, the bottoms, and the exponential or the precursors to these growth patterns, right? So I do want to go over the history, and again, take everything with a grain of salt. This is not definite or finite. This is definitely not definite or finite, and I'm not trying to sit here and say I know everything. I'm just pointing out specific events. So I went through the history, and I would also say that the more early we get in Bitcoin's history, the less, in my personal opinion, the less important, least importance, because it's just super early and it was very easy to manipulate. It was very small. I think it was only worth like like less than $1 billion, I believe. And you guys see right now financial assets of $10 billion getting manipulated on a daily basis. So we had like a lot of news releases for Bitcoin, as you can see here, but these are big, like Time Magazine. We also had a big story released by a big news outlet, The Rise and Fall of Bitcoin. But really, what we did get is this big push from the Winklevoss twins, right? And it just happens to be, which is really funny. It's not funny. It's bad. People lost a whole bunch of money. But the Mt. Gox hack at the exact top, like literally right here, the Mt. Gox got hacked. So I can clearly say that, yeah, I could probably be biased because I'm looking in this only in this area. But if there's a hack at the exact top, I mean, come on, like that's so obvious, right? So again, I've isolated these variables and you can see a very clean list of things that always happen and repeat over and over again for Bitcoin. Now, I just also want to be clear with you guys. I didn't look into the macroeconomic conditions, and we'll be doing another video for that where we could study the history of wars. And I plan on making like wartime, finance videos and stuff like that, but that's going to take a lot of time and effort. So I want to talk about first, what's happening in Bitcoin. But first, it's getting hot in here. Let me take my jacket off. It's getting a little hot in here, guys. Do me a favor, like the video, subscribe to the channel. I can't like scream on the internet and be happy all day because it's not a happy day. But what I will say is that I am attacking aggressively my due diligence. I'm trying to put in work and spread the good word of financial independence so we can, not have these situations in the future where people lose 50% of their whole entire net worth in one decision by one person that's bloodthirsty for war. This is a common thing throughout human history, and it's nothing different. And the first time we've ever experienced an exit from that system was when cryptocurrency was created. So I want to pay tribute to the cryptocurrency history cycle through these charts and what I'm showing you guys here. And I need you to pay attention because if we could look through history, we can see the playbook that they roll out over and over again. So if we come over here again, we see these big news release articles, and it's pretty consistent throughout crypto's history that they happen at very strategic times. So it's almost like the narrative has changed around these times, right? And then obviously another big catalyst is the halving events that's automatically programmed. So this would be a quantitative element. This would be an element of mathematics that changes the markets. But there also is elements of other things like thoughts, right, and psychology that change the markets. Also, another thing that's very consistent throughout Bitcoin's history is that there's always a big a character or a person or somebody to push and drive the markets, either a villain or a hero. There's always a person that's talking or pushing crypto, and at this time you can see it was probably a combination of this narrative here, the Winklevoss time news release, because right before we got this parabolic growth here, and then the halving event that kind of helped with the parabolic growth as well. And I think it's just hilarious that literally right here, the Winklevoss twins release a new fund. So throughout here, they were just talking about it and saying they bought Bitcoin. And then right here at the exact little local bottom, they actually started a cryptocurrency fund. Again, the character kind of showing the light at the end of the tunnel for everybody to jump into crypto, and then it spreaded like a virus, right? It spread like a virus in the minds of the humans, the human species, right? And then we got to an ultimate top here where China bans Bitcoin transaction, and again, another Mt. Gox hack, what we saw over here. So again, pretty consistent. We have news releases, we have an actual individual person that's pushing the market, or in some cases dumping the market, which is going to bring us to present time. And then we also have another exchange hack, and also, an entity. This is not necessarily one person, but China's obviously an entity of people. It's a country, right, that are releasing negative news, right? Because we know that they've banned it and unbanned it, so we can't take it serious. They're simply, doing this for a reason, right? So we have both of these kind of driving the market down, which brings us to the next point. This is a crypto-specific programmed quantitative element. So this is like not a narrative, but I think it's very important. Forks. So if you guys don't understand what forks are basically a split into the chain, right? Where one side of the community doesn't want this upgrade, and the other side of the community wants to upgrade Bitcoin in a certain way. So the beauty of forks is that it stimulates the market. It could be a beauty or pain. It can end in a bad thing or a positive thing. But what it does is it rewards everybody that currently owns the coin double. So if I had one Bitcoin at the time of the fork, then the Bitcoin XT, right, would be rewarded to me for free. So if I had like 1.5 Bitcoin, the fork splits, then I would receive 1.5 Bitcoin XT. And then from there, I would choose to sell one or hold them both or sell them both, whatever. But the point is that it stimulates the market. And again, if Eddie brings up the main screen here, you could clearly see that at that time of the fork was like literally the exact bottom. And I want to make the case that this was the bottom in the beginning of the, parabolic rally, because look, we have a higher high, right? Higher high right here. Yeah, I don't even want to mess up the chart. We have a higher high, right? Higher lows. And then we had this one dip here, right? And then it never kind of went back ever since that, right? It was like this one dip. It was almost like they were anticipating. It was like starting here. They anticipated the fork because everybody was talking about it. And then when the fork happened, right before the fork, there was a massive sell-off, everybody speculating. And then the fork actually happened. And then boom, look, we see the first parabolic growth cycle. This kind of perfect, beautiful chart of it going parabolic and then leading into the bigger parabolic growth cycle that you guys see there with the Bitcoin halving event right there. So again, the forks are a bigger part. And if we go back, I want this to be ingrained in your guys' brain so you understand and remember forever, so these people cannot manipulate you, right? So very simply put, we got exchange hacks, we got big egotistical characters, we have China ban news, negative sentiment, and again, more hacks and from centralized exchanges and big news releases. That's what moves Bitcoin. And then we have the Bitcoin fork. All right, so if we move here, I'll talk about these green candles later. We're going to go over Ethereum's history as well. Guys, again, this is a very deep video. People are not providing this research. Do me a favor, like the video. But after this big parabolic growth here, we have a CBOE, or a centralized exchange event, futures launch at the exact top in 2017. I don't find it a coincidence that it's always a centralized entity or something very big that either ends or starts the market. And you can literally see right here at the exact top, there was a futures launch in 2017, and this basically ended the market, in my personal opinion. And it brought us back to here, where we have another fork. In this case, the anticipation of the fork was a negative event. This was the Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV fork split, and this drove the market down in this case. So again, forks could be a positive and a negative thing. It doesn't matter. It just stimulates the market, and it brought it down, and then ultimately led to this kind of weak parabolic growth curve here, which didn't really play out in a long-term way. The stronger this goes up, the better it is. So you can see it very strong here, right? And this is why it lasts a little bit longer. But this is also an external event here, or a natural disaster, right? So it's not just cryptocurrency specific events that catalyze the market. It could be macroeconomic events, right? Obviously. So COVID's obviously an issue right now. We have the Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin SV split. Okay. And again, I'm just going over the history so everybody understands what's going on, right? Which brings me to my next point here. Well, guess what? At the exact same top, guess what happened? Bitcoin ETF, similar to the exact top here, futures launch, and similar to a centralized exchange issue here. I don't find it a coincidence, and the fact that they did it perfectly here was the fact that they pulled out their final weapon. Also, we have an Elon Musk Bitcoin tweet saying that he's banning Bitcoin transaction. Again, another character, in this case a villain, being put into the narrative, right? And then we see again, China bans Bitcoin transaction news. They pulled out all the rules of their playbook, right? So that next time we see something like this happen, guys, you could be awoke and understand that these variables play out over and over again. Just to be clear, does it not seem consistent? We have centralized exchanges, we have egotistical characters, right? We have the halving events, we have natural disasters or black swan events, we have fork splits. This list is small. Bitcoin ban again, centralized exchange issues. This list is very small, and I see it again happening throughout history. Can it happen again in the future? I think it's very likely, and we could be prepared for future big narrative shifts, right? So we could potentially save ourselves from losing money or make a whole bunch of money. You get the point. But let me answer some questions very briefly, and then I want to dive in and dissect the Ethereum market and why I think and why I made the ultimate call a couple of weeks ago, why the market's over and how they have shifted the narrative on Ethereum as well. Guys, do me a favor, like the video. We don't even have 200 likes yet. Let's get it to like about 250, 300 likes. Share the video with a friend. And if you are on a different social media platform, if you're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok, head on over to Alexander Lorenzo on YouTube. Just simply type in Alexander Lorenzo on the YouTube search algorithm, and it will take you over to my main page, and then you can click the link with Alex with the war paint on his face. But yeah, let me answer some questions. What we got here? Coinbase being listed top before major sell-off. Yeah, I mean, that was part of it too. That was like a centralized event. Scroll up. People are asking what news. You got to think in a longer time frame, guys. I'm not going to sit here and feed energy to like the short-term BS. This is not what makes us money. What makes us money is focusing on the long term. All right, a whole bunch of random questions, guys. Yeah, these are short-term questions, guys. People are not gonna. It's hard to answer. I mean, there's a whole entire war going on. There's no way anyone could predict anything. The only thing people could do right now is educate you on what could happen in the future. Yeah, it's over. Vitalik said it wants a bear market. Yeah, he said it's. Yeah, you get the point, guys. All right. The only thing we could do is learn. This is the bullish nature. This have gratitude for your current situation, right? That is the greatest news ever, is that you're still alive. And if you're in Ukraine and Russia, guys, I'm sorry, my heart goes out to you. All right, if we bring up this chart over here on Ethereum, let's talk about some of Ethereum's history. And you can see that, like we've been saying a million quadrillion times, Ethereum is mostly catalyzed by Bitcoin events, right? This is obvious because Bitcoin starts the narrative, and then the narrative morphs into a different type of narrative, which is, you know, obviously what's next, right? So people, they love Bitcoin, but Ethereum gives them the opportunity to make more money. So if we come over here at the beginning, this is incomplete data, and I don't take this as serious, but we can see that there was an upgrade called the Frontier Thawing. This kind of put Ethereum into real effect. Once that upgrade happened, we had this kind of, I wouldn't call that parabolic, but linear growth. Then we had the DAO fork. If you even looked into the history, actually recent people have been named as the people that, you know, made money off the DAO fork. But the point is that there was a big decentralized autonomous organization that was doing some funding, and they got hacked. And when they got hacked, they split or forked Ethereum. And actually, the new version of Ethereum is the one that you guys currently use. The old one is actually called Ethereum Classic. In Bitcoin's history, the old legacy coding was the one that stayed in use. With Ethereum's history, the new coding was the one that stayed in use, which really, again, adds to what I'm saying about narratives. It's like the reason people adopt Ethereum is because they want to know what's the next best thing. That is the narrative for Ethereum, and it clearly showed in the fork as well as other situations. Then we see this kind of parabolic growth here, kind of like the only time we really see it. We see it like here a little bit. But I think it's interesting that Bitcoin at the same time went parabolic. And again, narrative started for Ethereum because Bitcoin kind of led the show the same way they're currently leading the show. Then we actually had the ETH DAO hack, okay? And this brought the price down, and we had a whole bunch of issues. And then eventually we had the last parabolic rally to the ICO bubble pop. And Bitcoin falling. So, you know, I think Ethereum has mostly, just because of the fact that back in the day it didn't really have any utility. I think it was fueled by these events of Bitcoin mostly, and small events of the forks, just like Bitcoin. And then it stopped when Bitcoin stopped, right? And it stopped like a little bit after Bitcoin. Again, adding to my story that Bitcoin fuels the market. And they had, the only thing different is that you could do these crowd sales, right? Which Bitcoin doesn't have. So the ICO bubble pop was just an element of you know, a bubble. Like it was a bubble that was created in Ethereum, right? Now, I also think it's very interesting that right here, the Ethereum Foundation sold off millions of Ethereum right around here. Now, their timing was obviously a little bit off, but I'm going to show you in the future that they got better at what they did, and they sold the exact top of Ethereum's price in recent history. Then market dumps off, and we see Bitcoin kind of bring everything back right around here. Bitcoin pumps, and I'll show you the green arrows just so you guys can see what I'm saying. But these are those two events. This was the first parabolic event. This was the second one for Ethereum. If I bring it up here, right here. So you can see that, you know, it kind of moved the market right there. And then we have the same COVID event that obviously changed everything. So again, there's some variables that are like public or only relative to the chain. So like that would mean like a DAO attack or something. That would be only relevant to Ethereum. But then there's also some that are global, right? So this hits every crypto, right? Including Bitcoin. So this took down, you know, Ethereum as well. And then we have these hard forks that kind of, you know, this narrative, not even the hard fork itself, but the narrative in general just got it, you know, really bullish, right? So the Bitcoin market moved this and started this, and then we have, you know, the forks kind of ending it in this situation. We have the you know, multitude of forks, right? And in some cases they went parabolic right after, but obviously this is the top. And I think it's very crazy that the Ethereum Foundation literally sold on this week right here, the exact week. And we have, as you can see here, you can literally see it in articles. Here's the exact contract. They sold 20,000 Ether right there from ETH Dev. This is real. I'm not making this up at all. And all of this is back tested. I mean, if you don't trust me, you shouldn't be watching these videos that long anyways, right? So, you know, if we come over here, you know, they sold the exact top. That's why I'm very confident that the market's probably going to go into a bear run. And that's why I've been saying it over and over again. That's not the only reason, but that's, you know, I think it's pretty obvious at this point. So this seems like it's just an Ethereum catalyst, right? Because we don't really see that in Bitcoin. We don't know who's the owners of the Bitcoin Foundation, but we could see on-chain metrics for Ethereum. So it just becomes, you know, a little bit more transparent on ETH because we have block explorers that people are using, and people are just more involved in smart contracts, so they can look at these entities like the Ethereum developer that we caught selling, you know, 20,000 Ethereum. But the final point I'm trying to make here is that, guys, the most bullish news ever is very simple, right? We're moving into a climate that's uncertain for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is not going to move the market. It will when the halving comes, right? It's clearly considered risk on in these war times, right? So people are not adopting Bitcoin more right now. If anything, they're adopting oil and wheat and gold a little bit, but mostly oil and wheat, right? So, you know, those are the wartime assets to buy. Not Bitcoin. Bitcoin has served as a monetary a hedge against monetary inflation. I think it did serve it, and I was talking to Aaron about this, some guy in my group. It did serve as a hedge against monetary inflation while no one was really understanding what inflation was. So there was like a select few people that understood what inflation was, and that was all throughout 2020 and 2021. But it really became mainstream when we saw that, you know, CPI data at 7.5%. So, you know, I think now Bitcoin's not going to short-term serve as a hedge against monetary inflation. I think people are still considering it as a risk-on asset, right? You know, gold has hundreds of years of history. People are probably going to buy that first, especially during wartime and times of uncertainty. I mean, you actually see it. The Russian economic system, they were buying gold since 2008 from the housing market crash. So they understand. Same thing with, you know, China and Japan. So, yeah, people are buying gold and wheat, right? Things like that, things that last or stand the test of time, have been out for hundreds of years, right? So we do think the market's probably going to potentially come down and go into a somewhat winter. But there is an event that can kind of change everything. I've been saying that gold and Bitcoin's narrative is not going to work. I'm saying that Bitcoin's narrative is not going to work right now, but there could be another narrative or even an adoption vehicle, a value adoption vehicle, which is the use of these blockchains, right? We see it again right now in the economic system. We see, you know, Russia really, like, the whole stock market collapsed by 60%. And they're putting out these restrictions on people being able to sell. Like, they're literally taking people's bank accounts. We see it in Canada right before our eyes. So we could see something play out where people start adopting Ethereum because of the DeFi use case and all of the financial projects that are not controlled by one centralized entity. And I think it's very interesting that if we bring up this right here, Eddie, you know, we were supposed to have Ethereum 2.0. Yeah, go ahead. Screen, sure. I think it's very interesting. Oh, yeah, it's not plugged in. I'll just tell you guys, I think it's very interesting that the merge is happening. I just basically have a picture of the merge happening, and they basically said it was going to happen Q2 or early 2022. So now we're in 2022. Now Vitalik Buterin wants crypto winter. Like he said it in the article, he wants it because it's all good. You guys can't see. It's just the merge. You guys know the merge, ETH 2.0 upgrade, right? It's supposed to happen in quarter one, 2022. We're about to go into Q2. So he could just whip it out, right? He could, like, if the financial system goes down, like, he could whip it out and try to get people into DeFi, right? And if it did work, this would be all of, like, the stars aligning, right? Basically, if you think about it, because, you know, right now there's all these working blockchains, don't get me wrong, but the infrastructure, which is every blockchain is missing. Every blockchain is missing liquidity. Every blockchain is missing the security. The only one that's been able to pull all of those off, what has been Ethereum, and that's why it's expensive, right? So if they could fix the expense fee issue, and they could fix the actual transaction time, I think all perfect stars will align, in my personal opinion, for this value mechanism to actually be adopted. Remember, people adopt Bitcoin because they don't want their money to go to zero. They don't want their money to be inflated out of oblivion. People don't buy Bitcoin because of war times, right? But maybe people are going to be forced in a situation with banks where they have to adopt a different financial system, is the point I'm trying to make. Maybe they're pushed into a corner and they have nowhere to store their wealth, and they have to adopt a financial system. And it's just very interesting that Ethereum 2.0 is supposed to be coming out in the beginning of 2022, and maybe Vitalik Buterin rolls it out sooner than expected and brings the market back. This is the bullishness I'm trying to tell you guys, and maybe it doesn't happen now, but it doesn't matter. I've given you guys time horizons. I do think that even if Ethereum doesn't come out, right, with Ethereum 2.0 and it doesn't move the market, maybe Bitcoin starts the next cycle with the Bitcoin halving coming in 2024. So those are the biggest events I see in crypto that could potentially really save things. Is Ethereum 2.0 actually working for real, and a new innovation cycle starts, because instead of all of these chains being conflicted and changing, they all just code on Ethereum and make it really happen, where these new financial projects really come into fruition. Because right now, cryptocurrency is really divided, right, on different blockchains and different chains, right? Maybe there's an interoperable landscape, but I highly doubt. The infrastructure is the problem. Like, it's not the interoperable, I guess you could say, software. It works, like it currently works. Like, you can get liquidity swapped from one chain to another. But the problem is that there's no infrastructure that allows you to see that or allow you to use that, right? All the infrastructure is divided. So if it all aligns, right, all I'm saying is maybe it doesn't happen. But all I'm saying is that the cryptocurrency goes from just being held down by Bitcoin and this one narrative of crypto, Bitcoin, having events. It goes from this one narrative of the crypto having events to now having this completely new narrative, which is basically an exit from current centralized financial institutions. I cannot plan for my future if I don't know that my bank account is going to be frozen or not. How am I supposed to plan for my future, right? How am I supposed to think about us as a perfect representation? Do you guys have retirements, or do you think it's a scam? I would willing to bet if you're under the age of 30, you do not have a traditional retirement. Or if you do, it's much smaller in comparison to your crypto portfolio. Am I right? Right? We are the adopters. Eventually, these people are gonna they're gonna get old, right? And we have to think about how people are gonna think in the future. People in the future are gonna want to control their money, and they don't want an entity to be able to move or take away just because this one guy decides he wants to go to war, right? This one guy decides he wants to go to war, so let me put a tax on the people and take all of their money and just go to war because I decide, right? No, people are going to get to a point where they want to exit that system. And with Bitcoin, they could do that, right? But also now we have this new thing where they could generate yield and have decentralized finance, and it might all really work on Ethereum 2.0 is what I'm saying. It might actually really, really work on Ethereum 2.0, where you have the infrastructure, you have the liquidity, you have the transaction time and the transaction cost all on one chain, right? And like we saw before in the history of Bitcoin and Ethereum, these big forks or these big upgrade events really stimulate the market. And I'm willing to bet that, if we look at these markets, when we're at an all-time high and there was a fork, right, it stimulated it down. But when we had an all-time low and there was a fork, it stimulated it up. So if we're going into a crypto winter and Vitalik Buterin at the bottom of the crypto winter decides to launch this project, I think it's very interesting that we might get that stimulation to the upside, especially with the world and economic conditions. But yeah, I want to throw that at you guys. I'm going to throw that at you. And maybe it's a lot of speculation, but that's what everybody does. If you appreciate this content, like the video, share it with somebody that needs to know. We need a little hope right now. And if you're in Russia or Ukraine, my heart goes out to you. Sorry for, mankind at this point. Sorry for, the stupid decisions that they all make. And hopefully we can all make it through together. But yeah, leave a comment below. Let me know what your guys' thoughts and concerns is. That's pretty much it for this video. If you like the quality of this content, hit like. If you don't, leave some constructive criticism. Subscribe for more video updates. And like I always say, if you don't get with it, you will get left behind. Thanks for watching this, guys. Catch you in the next one.